On YouTube, it's Ed here, and today we finally have 1.1 Diablo 4 patch notes coming out, or it came out, and some of the changes are live as of right now, which is July 18th at noon Pacific Standard Time. So I read through most of it, and pretty much it's not great. I think this is probably one of the worst patches I've ever seen, and but let's just go through and talk about some of the general stuff in terms of they've added. So first off is a new unique and legendary aspects. Doesn't look like they're adding set items anytime soon, which is huge bummer because set items I feel like are one of the best things about Diablo, at least from Diablo 3 and up. Diablo 2 didn't really matter. 3 was all about set items with a sprinkle of legendary items, and I thought they would add set items to Diablo 4, but from what we initially, I believe the dev said they will be coming. We just don't know when because they want to make it right, so to say. Anyway, so they added 6 new uniques, arguably just 5 because there's one per each class, and then there is a Havarian a Havarian spear of Lycander. It's an uber unique staff that where you gain a random shrine effect every 10 to 20 for 10 to 20 seconds after killing an elite enemy. Can only occur once every 30 seconds, which is cute, but like since we can't re-roll any stats on uniques right now, I don't know how good this will be per build, right? Like it's great having a random shrine effect, especially if it's like artillery or protection or lethal. But greed is freaking useless. It's like the only good thing about greed is that I can run quicker. But aside from that, it's virtually useless. So having I don't know what the RNG of that is. Like, are certain shrine effects going to come up more than others? So we'll see how that goes. So each class will get a new weapon. I won't go into every single one of these, but since I play Necromancer, I'm more focused on this one right now, and a lidless wall, which is, definitely an item from previous games. First off, a shield is bull crap because like Necromancers right now don't use shields. They use an offhand like a focus or something, not a shield. But this is ridiculous. So the main aspect of this is a lucky hit while you have an active Bone Storm. Hitting an enemy outside of a Bone Storm has up to between 5 to 25% chance to spawn an additional Bone Storm at their location. Each of your active sacrifice bonuses increases the chance by 25%, and the total number of additional Bone Storms you can have by 1 plus 1. So basically, if you are using, like, for example, in this case, if you're using a Bone Spear or, any kind of Necro where you have, you sacrifice all your minions, you can get 75% up to 75% chance from sacrifices alone. So if you get the max roll on this, it's 100% chance, I believe, if I'm interpreting this correctly, 100% chance that you'll spawn an extra Bone Storm when you kill an enemy. However, you only get one. So it's not like you're going to get to litter a field with Bone Storms, which is kind of a bummer because that'll be kind of cool. Because, I guess, but it will also be kind of crazy, if you're you have the thing is, like, you do have a cooldown on the Bone Storm, but I guess if you get down a good corridor and you're popping Bone Storm and then, like, you're able to, like, Bone Spear like down a hallway and each of like the person you kill becomes a Bone Storm. Yeah, that would be just too insane. Having one extra is not going to make a huge difference, but better than nothing. So, but I think the thing with Bone Storm is that if you do have a golem, a Bone Storm also appears around the golem. So, but that also takes away 25% chance of spawning that extra Bone Storm. So, but you have a 75% chance if you get the max roll, but at minimum 55%. So it's not terrible, but it's not great either. So I don't know how this aspect. I mean, it could be great, it could, but it sounds kind of meh. I don't think it'll be. I don't think this is as good as they think it will be. So we'll see. You guys can check out the other items here. I'll also link the update patch notes to the video in the description below. There will be 7 new legendary aspects. Again, you can pause and read through all this, but I'm going to go over Necromancer. So Gore Quills is an offensive aspect. Blood Lance will consume blood orbs to also conjure lances from them. Each additional blood lance deals 20 to 50% of normal damage and prioritizes targeting unlanced enemies. I'm curious to how this will come out. Because basically you will have to have an aspect. There is an aspect where you just spawn more blood orbs. So you're definitely going to use that aspect in conjunction with this aspect so that you can just spawn blood orbs. And I think it's up to like 30% chance. I think that's the max, or 35%. So, and it's not hard to spawn blood orbs from when you're killing a good mob. You're going to get at least like 2 or 3 at any given time. So that could be pretty good. Plus, if you match this with either like also, it's not just killing an enemy, but also if you match this with the specific aspect about, I believe it's consuming a corpse. So if you consume corpses, it'll spawn a blood orb. So you can spawn blood orbs in 2 ways. And so that could be okay. But I'll let you read the rest. There's a ton of different bug fixes. Please, you can go through and read them on your own. They're fixing a bunch of dungeons where there are bugs. In terms of gameplay, so this is going to be interesting, I feel like. They fixed a bunch of stuff for both the Necromancer and things I didn't even realize was a thing. For example, there's an issue where if you cast Bone Spear through a chilling wind, those like white walls that come up from an, it would increase the number of generated echoes for the cast. For that cast, I didn't even realize that was a thing. I never noticed it, so whatever. So they fixed a bunch of little random things, but the main things I really want to talk about is basically how they have more or less ruined the game. First and foremost, I don't even know why this is even added in there. Loading screens. Yay, we get more loading screens. No one gives a crap. Like, why is this even a thing? Some good updates before I go into the bad. Altars of Lilith are now account wide, so you don't have to redo it. I thought that was always a thing. Map discovery is also account wide, which is great, which I think they already talked about. The Tree of Whispers no longer rewards sigil dust. Okay. Overall loot quality has been significantly improved for silent chests. That's nice. The channel time for the leave dungeon ability has been increased from 3 to 5 seconds. No idea why this is a thing. Like, why? I don't understand why they're prolonging more things, which they are doing a lot in here. Added support for PS5 DualSense controller on PC. That's cool. They reduce the amount of the tendency for monsters to move, like run away, I guess, so that you don't have to chase down, which is fine. Renown value. Okay, side quests are now increased from 20 to 30. Dungeon from 30 to 40, which is fine, but like no one cares. Like, people are only doing the side quests and the dungeon quests just for the renown. Like, they're not doing it for items, they're not doing it for experience. At least not every dungeon. They're only doing certain dungeons for experience. Let's see, world tier 2, like bonus increase, that's fine. Monsters now drop 15% more items, whatever. Level scaling inside dungeons and the overworld territories have been adjusted. So right now, basically how they've adjusted world tiers is now, instead before where enemies would tier themselves, or like they would scale to your level, now they scale below your level. So For example, here, if the player's level is below 55 and you're in World Tier 3, then their monsters are minimum 55. But if you're above 55, they stay at 55 and they'll always be minus 5 of what you are. So if you're level 90 right now in Tier 4, then enemies will be at level 85. Simple as that math, you know. The only thing it won't go below in Tier 4 is 75. So you won't be level 70 in Tier 4 and fight level 65 monsters. You'll fight 75 minimum. In case that wasn't clear. Reward experience for completing Whisper of the Trees in Tier 3 or 4 have been significantly increased. Whatever. You need to increase. I don't care about the experience. I reward. You need to give us better rewards. Like, because the items that drop from the Tree of Whispers is crap, to be quite frank. Like, they're okay in the beginning when you first open up the Tree of Whispers, and when you get to a new tier, they're kind of worth doing. But generally, when you're in the end game, when you're really trying to like refine your build, they're useless. So they need to really up that. Because right now there's no incentive to do Tree of Whispers as far as I'm concerned. They've significantly nerfed the hell out of what experience we can get. So previously, when they upped, like I think they doubled the experience you can get from just like everything across the board. They now completely reduced it. Where any enemies, okay, so enemies that are one level above you only give you 1.5% more experience. 2 levels above you, 3. And between 3 and basically 2 and 9, 2 levels 2 and 9 above your character, you only get a 3% bump. Only if they're 10 levels above where you are now will you get a 15% bump. This is absolutely bullshit. Okay, because previously it was like 1 level higher, 15, 2 levels higher, 20, 3 plus levels, 25. They've completely nerfed the living hell out of experience. And this is, honestly, I think it's like the worst decision. Because it seems like the devs just really want you to grind harder for it. And I'm like, like, I don't mind the grind if it's worth it. Right now, it doesn't, like, I don't know if this is actually worth the grind anymore. And and it's not like, and I can't get the max amount of Paragon points if I don't grind till the very end. So, I don't know. This is just does not seem like a good idea. Like, the grind is going to be so much harder. I mean, it's essentially going to require people to not only play like Nightmare Dungeons significantly harder than they are, but they're not going to get as much out of it. So, what's the point, you know? And plus, they nerf the hell out of every character except for the sorceress. And there wasn't enough buffs in order for us to really make it worth it. So I'm level 90 right now. I am honestly not sure if I can handle fighting level 100. Actually, I could handle fighting level 100 Nightmare Dungeons without too much sweating, but how the heck am I going to go above that? I think I was struggling at 104, 105, you know? And, and yeah, anyways, so I don't know if this is a great idea. And to be honest, I think it's just going to make a lot of people pissed off, especially casual players. I know, like casual players suck, whatever, you know, but those of us who are older, I'm 37 years old. I don't have all the time in the world to be playing this game. You know, me and my older brother love this game or love Diablo, and he has 3 kids. I don't even have kids. So he has 3 kids, and like he can only play so much. But if he's going to have to grind through this world instead of that world, it's going to suck a lot more for him. And he's not going to want to play it in the long run if he has to take care of 3 kids, you know, or like, and on the side, you know, just try to play a little Diablo, right? Like, it's not going to be worth it for him to see it anyways. You know, they completely changed on how we even get level offsets and stuff like that. The Hell Tide, this is probably one of the most bullshit changes I've seen. Hell Tide monsters now 3 levels above, whatever, that doesn't really matter. But torture gift of mysteries, those like mystery chests that are hidden, or like the two chests that are kind of like semi hidden around the Helltide, now cost 250 cinders instead of 175, which is bullcrap. But I was just playing this morning, and it felt like they've significantly reduced the amount of cinders that you can get. I hopped into a game, and there's maybe like 25 minutes left of a Helltide, and normally it's very easy to get 350 cinders to unlock two chests, and it's not very hard to do that in within 20 minutes. I couldn't in that 20 minutes. I went from event to event as fast as I humanly could, and I barely got 100. So I don't know. Maybe I just got a bad RNG, but like seems like mobs that are usually pretty significant, or especially from an event, those like orange circle events that are around the map, those can usually drop at least 20 or 30. Now it drops by like half. I swear to God, like it is significantly reduced. Like I may have to do a little bit more testing, but it feels like it's significantly reduced. So I don't know if it's just in my head. I don't know if other people are experiencing something different. So please let me know if you are. But I just felt like cinders were not dropping the way they should be, or at least not the amount that they should be. I mean, even the only time I got more than like 5 was from the chests you get from the events. Other than that, mobs of like 20, 30 enemies, I get maybe 3. Usually I get at least 5. Maybe sometimes if I'm lucky, like 10. But in this case, it was just not. I went all over the Helltide map or the zone, and I was just not getting it. So I don't know. I don't know if this is. I think they really ruined Helltide, and I don't know if it's even worth it to farm anymore. Like I think all I'm gonna do is nightmare dungeons. But so it's really not great. In terms of other balances, you can go through each of the different units here. I don't know why they all cut off, but whatever. So, in terms of Necromancer, I run the Bone Spear Necromancer, like everybody else, and they've nerfed it. They didn't nerf it to the ground, but they've definitely nerfed it, in terms of certain aspects that have basically kind of that were really good. For example, one in particular is the Grasping Veins, which is where every time you use Corpse Tendrils, it basically increases your bonus to damage vulnerable enemies anywhere between 30 and 60%. You throw that on an amulet or a weapon, and it gets 50 to 100% better. Now they've reduced that significantly to 20 or 40%. If it's not on an amulet or a weapon. So they've pretty much nerfed the floor by 33%, and they nerfed the entire thing by 33%. So Grasping Veins is still decent, but not as good as it used to be. So last I saw, I can still crit for about 1 to 2 mil, but I think that's the max now. I think the max I saw was 2.5. I used to go for a lot more. So I used to go for like close to 3 to 4 mil. Now it's like down significantly because of this whenever I do the Grasping Veins. So they're basically forcing you to fight harder. And considering how there is no like it's a little essence is a little hard, or not the easiest to come by. This is gonna hurt a little bit more, and where you're really gonna have to build out your build, where like it has a combination of cooldown reduction, essence generation. So that you can really not, where you can't really rely on Grasping Veins to get that sudden burst of essence regeneration anymore, coupled with the damage output, because like one thing that I was always able to do, or like I really like doing, was throwing a corpse tendril in the middle of a mob, letting it grab everyone, and then shooting just one bone shard through them, and it like just deletes enemies. Can't do that anymore, or at least less likely to at least high level bosses and stuff. So it's gonna suck a little bit. They did nothing to increase like other builds such as corpse explosion, minions. Like they did, I mean, they buffed the minions a little bit, but it's not that much better. Like raised skeleton priest bonus damage increase from 20 to 30%. It's not really going to make it that much difference, I don't think. I mean, I could be wrong. That's a 50% increase from 20 to 30, but we'll see if it actually makes a difference to like find now to have a fine like minion builds. I wish there was a necro or a corpse explosion build. There's no builds around ultimates, so it's kind of a bummer. Other things like if Evulsion bonus damage to vulnerable reduced, transfusion minion healing increase, which is not bad, but seems like they tried to buff a little bit more of the minions, but it's not that great. Luckily amplified damage has increased, but they didn't really, I wouldn't say they did. Okay, the way they basically their philosophy of balancing, instead of making the worse better, they made the better worse, in order to balance it out. So, and I hate that type of balancing. Instead of buffing everything, they reduced everything. So because I guess that's like, slightly easier than just say like adding more mobs or like revamping a little bit of like how we get elites and stuff, and then just buffing characters so that they're a little bit more tanky, a little bit more damage. Output is better, but instead they just nerfed everything so that dungeons that you can typically high level dungeons that you can typically clear in like 5 minutes will now take you maybe 8 to 9 minutes, which doesn't sound very long, but in the overall aspect of things, it's gonna make a difference. So those are some things that like that really, I feel like they've really messed with a little too much in this case. And it's really hurt a lot of these builds. And I feel like, and I don't know what season 1 is really going to bring in all of this. Cause like, I'm not even, I'm definitely less excited, in terms of how this will be. Here's a new thing. Monsters. Increase monster HP scaling from 85 to 100% bonus per extra player in the party. So monsters that are typically, say, they have a life of 100, just to use whole round numbers, they'll now have 400 if you have a full party. Yeah. So have fun with that one. So bosses are 4 times more 4 times stronger, everything if you have a full party. So that sucks. I believe that's how I believe that's how, at least I believe that's what it is in terms of how I'm interpreting it. Adjusts to scaling the greed shrine to prove its effectiveness throughout the game. Like, okay, they need to basically add a 0 or 2 to the greed shrine in order for it to be remotely effective or like remotely worth it to grab. Again, aside from like just getting a speed boost and movement boost, like the greed shrine sucks. Like you don't really get more gold, or like you don't get significantly more gold. You maybe get like 10 to 20% more. This needs to be like double, if not more than that. Other little things. They added a few more attributes to different items. Like, for example, control impaired duration reduction can now appear on pants, which is nice, but not a big deal. Or like some of these things are like kind of good, but not crazy good. They didn't really mention, I don't think they mentioned much about fixing all resist all stuff, because it wasn't really, I think it wasn't like really working the way it's supposed to, but we'll see. Strength, dexterity, intelligence. Okay, this is kind of whoa. They nerfed the hell out of having attributes on weapons now, or especially your main stat attributes, core stat attributes. There's no longer the bonus used to be 50% more. Now it's only 25% more on weapons, which is ridiculous. Oh, haha, here we go. Cooldown reduction reduced by 30%. Why? Why? It's basically like, I mean, it's everyone going to be kiting the whole time in these games now. Like, what the hell? Like, I remember reading this thing on Reddit where like a user basically pointed out like it seems like the devs in this game want to prolong everything. Like everything is made so that you it's like extremely out of the way and forces you to spend more time on the game, but not necessarily in a good way, you know? It just forces you to do like mundane tasks even longer. Like in one prime example of that is vendors in the towns. Like they're all super freaking far apart. Like, why is my stash on like one corner, and then if I want to go use my obols, is on the other side of the freaking town? You know, it makes no sense. Why can't they all be at least within like a small radius, right? Like obviously they can't be right next to each other because, or some things can't be right next to each other because if it gets too busy, then like you have way too many users in one place, right? But you can space it out in a way that it doesn't suck. And I think Karagar, or Sirigar, I forget how to say the town name. That is probably one of the better ones in terms of where vendors are located. But yeah, um, they reduce critical strike damage by 17%, which is crap. Critical strike damage with bone, earth, imbued, and werewolf shield reduced by 17%. Vulnerable damage reduced by 40%. So, while I don't mind this type of thing, because like they did this in D3, like in the beginning of D3, um, all builds were focused on crit chance and crit damage, right? Like if you didn't have high crit damage with the high crit chance, you're pretty much like not going to do jack crap to enemies. And then around at one point, they basically were like, okay, we can't do this anymore. We're going to cap crit chance at 35%. You can get as much crit damage as you want, but builds were more focused around like the set bonuses, right? Like, you know, not because set bonuses, you were able to get like 10,000 increase in this particular skill when a user, like for example, the best thing like, you know, for the Firebird mages, wizards in D3, like, you know, Spectral Blade can hit for 10,000 on enemies that were on fire, right? So you have a build built around that to use Spectral Blade. But we don't have something like that currently because one, we don't have set bonuses, and we don't have aspects or any kind of um, any kind of attribute where a certain skill gets a huge buff, right? As long as you proc something, right? Like you don't have like this chain reaction of certain skills as you did in the end of D3. Arguably, you know, D4 is playing a lot more like D2, where you just need skill point, as much skill points as humanly possible into your main skill, and then you combine that with the crit chance and the crit damage. So that's like kind of the strategy right now, which I'm not a huge fan of. I'd rather just have a build like that. So everything is getting reduced. Like I think, I'm just gonna. The word reduce shows up 45 times in this whole in this entire list of things that are coming to that is coming to season 1. To be fair, increase shows up 87 times, But I don't think that's a fair balance in terms of how many things they're reducing, because they're reducing a lot of the stuff that makes the game pretty fun right now, but they're not increasing enough to make this a better viable game. But anyways, I thought that was an interesting find I just did. But overall, I think a lot of the balancing is not good. To be honest, we shall see what happens. I mean, I've yet to play. I mean, we'll see what happens in season 1. Maybe I could be all wrong. I hope I'm wrong, because I want to play this game more and I really want to invest more time into Diablo 4. But so far in the last few weeks, like, seems like game updates have not been great. You know, we have Warzone, like, with all the boys additions that are completely crap and ruin, arguably, and to a lot of people, ruining the game. And then you have Diablo 4 ruining stuff. So I'm like, dang, dude, what's next, dude? Like, who else is ruining their games, right? But I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm hoping that season 1 is fun. I'm hoping to invest more time in it, and I hope it's good. Anyways, I've been talking long enough. It's been over half an hour. Let me know what you guys think of the season 1 patch notes and what's coming on basically in 2 days. Let me know what you guys think of this. Comment below, like, subscribe, you know, all that jazz. Everyone have a great week. Hopefully you're staying cool in the summer, and have a great time. Take it easy, guys.